Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Flashbang Wallop, our fourth show in the series. We're getting more momentum and more viewers, which is great. So if you want to take part and you want to join in, hit that subscribe button on the bottom there where it is, or give us a like. That all helps with our figures. So with me tonight are my three colleagues, Ian, Damien, and Neil. So Neil, how are you doing? What have you been up to?
Good. Actually, to be honest, not a lot. Yeah, the most of the sports seasons are finished, and the camera's had a bit of a rest, to be honest. Work's been busy. I did take this one behind me on the iPhone
Wow.
this week. I didn't have the
That's
cameras with me,
amazing.
and I don't know, it's one of those things, isn't it? When you're there and you're used to photographing something, you get an itch. And next thing you know, it becomes a nervous sort of nervous twitch, and then you grab the camera. So yeah, I took some images of the beach rugby we had. It was good
Good,
day out.
good,
I'm
good.
not sure about the guy in the budgie smugglers
I
in the
tell you what,
background,
if
though.
I sit over here,
Yeah, that's
how
fair.
about
Yeah. Now maybe move back to the middle, please, Neil. It's been.
he is the
Oh,
Swiss cap. He is the Swiss captain, and they are Swiss
okay.
budgie smugglers. So
Good.
Cyril will be happy you've spotted him.
Ian, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah. Need to mention we're actually on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well now.
Oh, there we
So
go.
you can
Good,
check
good,
us
good.
out there as well. So but
Onwards and
yeah,
upwards, as I say.
I mentioned that the last show it's macro season for me, so that's what I've been trying to do, and I've put a lot of time in, but the weather's been awful, rain, wind, yeah, just conditions you don't want for macro, and worryingly not good numbers for insects at all. So fingers crossed. We've had some lovely sunshine the last couple of days, and I think it's settled for a few days. So hopefully I'll get out. Hoping to get out tomorrow morning and see a bit more. Hopefully.
Have you got one of them bug hospital things in the back of your garden that they encourage everyone to
No,
set up?
no. I've got a couple of local spots that I go to. Local cemetery, which is a bit strange, but it's been left to go wild, and there's some,
Right.
really good wildlife in there. Yeah.
Good, good. And Damo, how you doing? I
I'm
spy,
fine, thanks. Yeah.
I spy. Is that an award-winning photograph behind you?
Yes, this was the black and white competition, Monovisions. I got an honourable mention for Twist and Turn. It's in the local wood, which I'd only just visited recently. Only a few weeks back, and not a few weeks back, a few months back. So then we go to get the picture taken with my Fujifilm, by the way. Yes.
I was just about to say, yeah,
And,
yeah. I
and
thought
had a
that.
busy weekend. I got involved with a community project in a suburb of Birmingham where they're mapping it out and then doing an exhibition at the end. So I'll let you know how that goes along. And had a great time today with street art at Cheltenham, the Cheltenham Art Festival. Really good. My daughter and grandson came with me, and we visited car parks and tunnels and underpasses and stuff like that to look for the street art, which was really good.
Did you take along your spray cans as well?
Oh yes, you did say can. Yes, many of the people look really sort of quite intimidating with goggles on and everything.
Yeah.
But it was good fun. The colours are vibrant though, really vibrant, and some really good photo opportunities. They just don't mind being photographed.
Right. And I believe we may be getting pictures of a newborn soon.
Oh yes, had a
Granddad, I
newborn
believe.
baby. Yes, been practicing my newborn baby skills, which will happen for about a few months and then disappear again. But it's really good.
Congratulations. That's great. That's great.
Thank you very much.
Good, good. Okay, so what we're going to have a look at is obviously we've been scouring the news and looking out for items that might be of interest to photographers. So the first one we spotted, which I know most photographers, I'm sure a bit like myself, we love taking photographs, but we're not very keen on a portrait, are we? Don't many take self-portraits. But there was this young man that you found, Ian. He has an unusual way of getting a selfie, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm not going to try and say his name because it's a Finnish photographer. But he spent 4 years. He didn't even need a camera because he's used roadside cameras. Apparently, in Finland, they have to sort of make this footage available publicly. So he's gone to a location, stood there for a while and then gone online and grabbed a screenshot of the footage
Yeah,
and collated it into a series.
they're not speed cameras, are they? These are weather
No, it's sort of
cameras
street camera.
yeah,
Yeah,
to show what kind of conditions are on the roads. But as I said, he's gone round getting selfies or pictures of it. I'll put up
yeah.
a couple that
And
you can
this,
see here,
yeah,
which
it's
is
literally just like standing there in the middle.
It's a bit,
Like,
some of a bit eerie.
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have to
But
be
it's
careful
very,
on the roads there. Everyone drives in Finland. They all think they're Keke Rosberg or Mickey Hackerman because the roads are empty. And
There's
yeah.
there's only the
Goes to
one.
show though, yeah, you can do
There's only,
photography and you don't need a camera.
yeah.
yes,
I personally like the one of him hiding behind the notice board. It's
Yeah,
like he's trying to hide from the cars.
yeah.
yeah,
Great stuff. So yeah, I don't think it would help here if you'd have to like run backwards very fast to get one in our speed cameras, wouldn't you? I couldn't imagine that working out too
yeah,
well. Would you? These people running backwards
yeah.
of
Yeah.
over 70 miles an hour to get a picture taken. So no, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. Now talking of pictures, we've also seen this explosion that's been going on about AI photography and the very strange inroads that people are making about how this AI is being taught. One of the guys we were looking at, the chairman at Microsoft, um, actually thinks it's fair game to take any photograph that's on the web and use it without any kind of copyright laws. And there's people have been saying that this is what they're using to train the AI systems to learn what faces look like, so they can make up their own.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, he's basically said that if it's online and it's been online for a while, it's it's freeware. It's open to them to
yes, yeah.
use it to scour. Now, I mean, obviously, it's a pretty sloppy comment to make because he did get lynched pretty quickly by the media outlets, but they were doing it anyway, and other companies were doing it anyway. He's probably just said something that
I'm, I'm,
everyone's been doing.
I'm sure the likes of Facebook, Instagram, Meta are selling the images because as soon as you
Mhm.
post anything
Yeah.
on there, then it no longer belongs to you.
Isn't that part of their terms and conditions that they can use anything that
Yeah,
you post online?
absolutely. Yeah.
You lose
Yeah,
They
all copyright
as soon as you
restrictions.
upload it, they strip all the metadata out.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
A good friend said to me, years ago, and he was absolutely right. He said, if you don't want it stolen, don't put it online,
No.
and
Yeah.
totally right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
even
So
I tried recently talking about AI. I used Adobe's AI and I tested it on the signature in my own one of my own photos, and even when it's written right across the middle of the photo, you can just highlight it and literally just say remove watermark, and it does a
Mm.
very, very, very good job.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's no point watermarking your images. It's a waste of time.
It,
yeah.
all it's doing is saying you're just saying, yeah, I took that.
Mm.
So you say that we also spotted there's a link here to was it an AI competition, and the winning photograph was it
Yeah,
a real photograph? And they had to
Yeah,
ban it.
yeah.
Had to
It's a
yeah.
ban
So
the
we've
real
photograph.
had
photograph.
I think we might have covered it on previously where we had the photographer that put an AI image into the Sony competition and won
That's
it, but
right.
he did it
Yeah,
on purpose, didn't he? And then came up and went, huh, the image is AI. And this guy's done the opposite. He's put a real image into an AI competition and it's won, and
yeah.
then he's gone, no, it's a real image.
It's real throwing. Yeah,
So
it's
I mean, it just goes to show that it's a mess because you can't. It's got so good that you can't tell between
and
a
there's just no
photograph and
way.
an
There's
AI
no
image.
way to distinguish.
No,
No,
It's
no.
just even.
no. I did a blog post actually recently about because Meta have started on Instagram. They started tagging images made with AI. So I did a little test and I created an image in Photoshop with AI and completely AI, and then I did another just one of my photographs. But what I did with the AI one is I totally stripped the metadata and then uploaded it, and Instagram couldn't. It wouldn't put the badge made with AI because it couldn't determine. Even though it was a unicorn running along a beach at sunset, it couldn't. It couldn't. It just couldn't establish that it was made. So it's totally flawed. The whole process is totally flawed.
Yeah.
Yeah. and it's a worry about where all that's going to go. It's facial recognition,
Mm.
the deep fake that they're talking about in some of these, especially in American politics at the moment. They're getting really, really
Yeah.
concerned about what's been said and done.
I
So
did
it's
find a
hard.
good
It's
use
hard.
for it though.
Go on then.
Chat GPT, because I'm rubbish. I don't do social media very well, but so I put a small image, uploaded it to Chat GPT, and I said, "Tell me some good hashtags to use for Instagram," and it did it. It recognised the image and went, "Yeah, these are the sort of
That's
hashtags that
it.
you should be
Yeah.
using." I mean, you can save time. It does have its advantages if you're smart
Well,
with it.
well,
Yeah.
Chat GPT is now going to have its own search engine to rival Google and Amazon and the
Mm.
rest, and they're all scrambling trying to get their AIs up to speed. So there's going
Mm.
to be a search war on AI.
Well, I
Right, and
know
then
there are
of
software
course,
programmers.
Apple are coming into the market as well in
Yeah.
September. When they
There are
release.
software programmers using ChatGPT to write code for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Why write something from scratch? It's probably been written before.
Mm.
So
Oh,
why
I
not
tell you
manipulate
the
it?
other thing I used ChatGPT for literally this week was I've entered a competition, and that competition's rule said you can't enter images from another competition if that competition says you can't enter images into another competition. I was like, right, okay. So I went to the other competition that I'd entered images into. I got their terms and conditions. I can't be bothered to read all that. Copied and pasted it into GPT, and I said, "Does this say anywhere you can't enter images into another competition?" And it scanned it all and went, "No, there's nothing in here that says you can't enter another competition." So, I mean, it does have its uses if
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're smart with
If indeed it's true.
it. If it's got it right, yeah.
Yeah.
If
The
not,
black
I've
box.
entered.
Black
Yeah.
box.
Who knows where that's going to end up? I'm sure that at some point there'll be a Chat BT podcast, so we won't even have to turn up. We can just say, right,
Yeah,
make this
yeah.
a
Just
photographic
yeah.
podcast for us with 4 people, and away you go and see what
Oh,
happens.
I'm sure you could write in there, just tell us all the news from this week and it'd go off and get it.
And of course,
Yeah.
we don't want any, any, any giveaway signs that this is a
But
recording.
I think it will decrease standards because there's so much rubbish out there that it has to go through that will
Mm,
almost so-called poison it, and therefore it's
mm,
not necessarily going to find its way through all the rubbish and sort it all out. It's going to
mm,
sort of
I, th-
where it's going to settle. It's certainly not going to settle at the highest level.
I think what's
mm.
worrying though is we're only at the beginning of this. You imagine where we'll be in 5 years' time or 10 years' time with it.
Yeah.
It will almost be indistinguishable, and you get to a point you won't be able to believe anything you see or hear on the screen or on
No.
in
And the
press
thing
or
is, the
print
more
or TV or
people,
what.
the more people like me that go to ChatGPT and go do this, do that. I mean, every time I'm feeding it information, it's learning.
Yeah.
Mm, mm.
Especially if I go, oh yeah, tick, thumb up, thumbs up, that was really useful. It was going, oh yeah, we did right there, so we'll keep adding it to the memory bank.
We'll have to set a
Mm.
new self-awareness date.
Marnie, they're never going to be
Remember
able to
Terminator?
reproduce.
Yep, that's
They're
it.
never
We'll
going to
get
be
Yeah.
able to reproduce this quality.
yeah. Where's Sarah when you need her? Sarah Connor. Right. Okay. Let's move on. There's also been quite a resurgence in new kit in the last few weeks. The two we want to talk about tonight are uh, Neil's favourite, the Nikon, and of course there was that other manufacturer. They released something.
Is it Fuji?
Something
Yeah,
during it.
no.
Was it an R1? Was that what I saw somewhere? Yeah. Okay. So let's kick off with you, Neil, first. About was it the new Nikon Z6 Mark 3.642 or whatever it is?
Yeah, the Z6 III. So they've brought out
That's
the
the
third
cost for
version.
it.
The third version, and finally the autofocus has been given a good upgrade.
You've got the Z6, haven't you?
I've got the original Z6,
Right.
which I still occasionally use. It's a good. So, one of the big distinguishing things between the Z6, the Z8, and the Z9 is the size. The Z6 is the smaller of the three. They all pretty much have similar autofocusing now. So you get your people detection, your like cars, planes, all this sort of thing, birds, all these general things that now the AI is looking for. So it'll look for faces, eyes, etc., etc. But all they've done is they've upgraded the Z6 III. It's the same battery, same similar size camera. It's a little tiny bit bigger. It's got a partially stacked sensor, not a fully stacked. Was it by CMOS sensor, isn't it? Yeah. 24 megapixels. So they've not upped the actual pixel size of the sensor. And they're marketing it as the all-round camera. So video, stills, the whole thing. It's a nice camera. Would I buy one? Maybe, if I didn't have the Z8. The issue I have with it is the price at the moment. I can pick up a Z8 that's only about $200 or $300 more than the Z6 III. So there's no real, for me, there's nothing really there. The attractive thing for me is the fact it's a smaller camera. It's smaller, lighter. It's very good in low light. I actually haven't had my hands on it yet. I will at the end of August. There's a Nikon are doing a hands-on session of all their gear at a local nature reserve. So I've booked a place on that for a couple of hours. Hopefully they don't take credit card whilst I'm there.
Yeah.
It is a very good camera, but I do think it's too expensive.
Yeah, that price difference doesn't seem to be enough to really warrant the.
No, but you have to think the
go for
Z8
that.
now.
Is that normally sold as a kit camera? They usually sell that combined
you
with a
can always
lens and
buy
stuff,
these.
don't they?
They sell them as body only, but you can usually buy them with another lens. It's not sold as a kit as such, being a full frame camera, but you can buy it as a kit camera. You could buy a 2470. They normally wrap up lenses in there. So the 2470 f4, the 2.8, or the lens that I really, really like now is the 24 120 f4. It's a great all-round versatile lens, great for landscapes, just general sort of day out. I mean, the only thing for me with this camera is it's that bit lighter and that bit smaller than the Z8. That's where I like it. Battery life, I'm going to guess it's going to be about the same as the Z8, maybe a little bit better.
So it just sounds like a natural progression,
It is.
an
It is.
upgrade they do
Yeah.
on a regular basis I suppose it has to do that to match the similar Canon of that type or the Sony
the
or
thing that
whatever.
was really missing on it for me, and if they'd put it on there earlier, that was the autofocus and the AI with the autofocus. That's the one thing that's really, really been missing. If you'd have bought all those, the Z8, the Z9, and the Z6 III at the same time, I'd have bought the Z6 III.
Right. Okay.
Just a couple of bits from me. I mean, the partially stacked sensor is a first, though, isn't it?
Isn't there somebody
It's my
else
understanding.
as well?
Well, I think when they announced it, I think they said it was a world's first,
Okay.
which is interesting. I mean, that'll be interesting to see what it does to the readout speeds.
Well, yeah, it's still a mechanical shutter as well as the rolling shutter as well. Yeah.
So excuse my
in
ignorance.
theory, it should be. Yeah, go on.
Also, excuse my ignorance. What is it? Explain what is a stacked sensor. Is it basically one on top of each
Oh,
other? Is
it's
that what
Yeah, it is one. So when
Yeah,
it's
it's all the
fully stacked,
circuitry, isn't it?
yeah, when it's fully stacked, it's one on top of the other,
Right.
which gives you a better dynamic range, is my understanding.
Okay.
And normally, fully stacked sensors are normally even higher end. So this is like a partially stacked is a cheaper way of sort of doing it, but giving you a bit more speed. So that's the first. But didn't Nikon come out and already say that if you pre-ordered it, you might not get it straight away? I think the demand has been pretty good.
You can buy
already,
them
isn't
off
it?
the shelf. I mean, I think a week after it was out, they were readily available. I saw something saying,
Oh, I thought Nikon said that they might struggle to meet early demand.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. I mean, I'm just looking at Wexy. I mean, it's 2699. Which I mean is standard for that range of. It is a high-end full-frame camera. Isn't it?
They had a discount on the Z8, which brought the price of the Z8 down to only a couple of £100 more than the Z6 III. And you kind of think, well, for that fully stacked sensor, and all the knobs and bells are the same. The size isn't a lot different. Same battery. Yeah.
Is it the same lens mount so you can transfer all your
Yeah,
lenses through it
it's
to
a Z
that's all
mount.
compatible? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
good.
still backwardly
I
compatible
mean,
with an old F
it was
mount.
never going to be a camera for you then, was it? With a Z8 and Z9,
No.
I mean, it's not aimed at you at this point of in terms of the gear that you've already got.
If I
It's
did
not.
a lot more traveling, I might change my old Z6, but I'd chop it in.
Well, it's doing the second-hand camera market a power of good because the prices will drop on the tiers below, won't they?
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. You could see lots of Z6s, Z6 IIs going up for sale before it was
Yes.
actually released as well. A lot of people trying to sell them privately. It's a nice camera. It's a good camera. Yeah,
So would you
it's an
say?
evolution.
Yeah, I mean, would you say it's not if you're an original Z6 owner, it's a worthy upgrade. But if you're a Mark II, it's worth skipping it essentially.
It depends what you're doing with the camera, is what I would say, because it's the real big difference between this and either of the two before is the autofocus. That is the real big thing. I mean, they've put the autofocus from the Z8 into the Z6.
But the Z6 before wasn't a slouch for focus, was it?
No, it's not slouch, but it didn't have all the AI.
Right. So they did. I did face and like eye
It did
detection and
face and
stuff
eye.
like
It did
that.
face and eye, but
Yeah.
that was it.
Okay.
And
But
I
that's not
never
bad,
had
is it?
No, but I never had much luck. Well, it was okay on moving subjects, but wasn't great. But if you had a Z6 to Z6 III, yes, it's a good upgrade.
Yeah.
But I would seriously consider, if the offer's still on, rather than going Z6 III, to go to Z8.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's worthwhile looking at his prices.
But again, it really depends. Really depends what you're doing with the camera.
Yeah.
In fact, the best thing to do with this is to wait till Christmas, and there'll be a couple £100 off it, I'm sure.
Yeah, cashback deal or something like
And
that.
that's what Canon's doing. Canon's knocking 15% off their cameras at the moment, I think, if you buy.
Well, why would Canon be doing that? Demo?
I don't know. Maybe
maybe they're not very good.
They've reacted to my the cheaper Canon cameras.
Maybe they're too expensive.
A couple of new releases might have affected that. Did anyone watch the Canon release call that they made?
Watch it.
Why would I watch that?
No,
I didn't watch it.
I just read the reviews when they came out, and it's a bit better. But it's £2,000, it's what, £7,000 for the top of the range one now.
The R1.
The R1,
it's expensive.
Yeah. It's their battleship, isn't it? It's
that's the perfect segue, isn't it?
Everything. I think so. I did watch the show. I managed to catch it, and it was a big thing about the R1 and what it can do. Some of the for me, some of the expressions of the new bits of features on it were way over my head. It was just the thing that really caught my eye was about the autofocus and the eye focus. Not only does the camera focus on the eyes in the picture, but it uses your eye to actually focus as well.
Yeah, so that's not new. So Canon did that in the R3, but apparently, I mean, I don't know. I've never used it myself, but it wasn't particularly great. I don't think it got particularly good reviews. So what they've done, apparently, they've made on the R5 too as well, because that's got this feature now, which it didn't have before. But they've made the viewfinder that much bigger. If you look at it, I mean, it does look quite chunky actually, but they've made the area bigger, so it's easier to track your eye in that area. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's one of the big things.
That does seem a really good feature if it works.
Yeah, if it's implemented well.
Yeah.
What
and a bigger battery
what is it
as well? More battery.
What is a Z9?
So it's funny. I can give it to you. I can give it to you in francs price wise. So the Z9 is at the moment 4,800 francs. It's about 15% different, I think. And the R1 is 6,600 francs.
Yeah, see, Z9 on Wex is 4,999, and an R1 is 6,9. I mean, it's £2,000, and
Yes.
yeah, I don't know why Canon
So I looked
thinks
at
they're.
the specs between the two. I mean, you get 10 frames more raw, but you've got um was it a 24 megapixel sensor opposed to the 47 on the
40, yeah.
45 effective. So there's that big difference. So that's why they get the higher readout, because they're using the stack sensor. So they get a high readout rate, but by keeping the sensor small, you get a higher raw file readout. Okay, so you got slightly more frames, but you're losing a bit of resolution. So there's always that battle, megapixels
Yeah,
versus
compromise.
yeah. You've got that nice feature with the eye detect, the eye follow. I don't know exactly what they called it, but as far as everything else is concerned, it's slightly lighter than the Z9, but the rest is pretty much spec wise, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. I must admit, when I saw these announcements, the R1 and the R5 Mark II, I did think they were pretty underwhelming. And I don't think that's Canon's fault. I mean, I think we're at a point with these releases now where, I like to sort of compare it to, say, iPhone. If you went from the original iPhone to an iPhone, say, 3G, that was quite a big leap, wasn't it? Because it was early days. Whereas now and it's the same with the cameras. If you go from an iPhone 14 to an iPhone 15, it's nothing, is it, really?
No.
You can afford to skip generations now, and we're at the same point with these cameras, I think. And if personally, I think if you're an R3 owner, I wouldn't contemplate an R1. And if you're an R5 owner, I don't think the Mark II is that much of an upgrade to worry about it.
The professional camera, so the professional would be thinking very carefully what they're going to buy. I mean, the cable.
I'd argue you could probably do everything on the R5 Mark II that you can on the R1.
Yeah.
So why would you want the R1? It's got slightly faster frame rate.
And the video is what's about the video?
On the R5, the R5 is the one that's made for the video, is my understanding.
Yeah, I think I'm not good with video, but I think the R5 II video is better than the R1 because the R1 is not aimed at that market.
Yeah, from my point of view, doing videos, I would the R5 would be a better camera for me, just because I do far more video than photography. But there is a thing about it is a fully professional camera. I believe it's fully waterproof, which the R5 is only classified as showerproof. So there's those kind of things that they attract the pro version. And to be honest, the pros aren't as cost conscious as maybe the next level down, the pro consumer sort of market. So they're gonna, and a lot of them they get them on hire and everything else from Canon anyway. So you mentioned Jeff Cable there, Damo. Jeff is a professional photographer based in America, who's been on our show before. I'll put a link here if you want to go and see the original interview with Jeff. But he's a confirmed Canon user. And we've been watching some of his blogs that he's been doing. He's at the Olympics at the moment, and he's using the R1 for the first time, as a shown. And he apparently the focusing, the eye focusing, and the tracking is meant to be pretty spectacular. He was seemed to be blown away by that. And he did say about the lightness of it. So there's a guy who's banging out 5,000 shots a day. So I'd imagine that kind of sustained use, you'd have to be at the top end of the game with equipment.
It's easy for me to bag on the R1 and the R5 Mark II. I mean, they're not cameras for me. And you're right. If you're relying on those images, putting money into your bank account, it's a different kettle of fish. So, these cameras are aimed at certain people, aren't they?
It depends what you, as I said before with the Z6 III, it depends what you're doing with it. If you're shooting landscapes, you don't need 40 seconds.
Yeah.
But then cameras are not something you upgrade every version, are they? So if you my personal camera is a Canon 6D, so it's way behind the scale. So I am now looking to upgrade. So what sort of camera am I going to go for? Obviously, and even if I'd like one, I don't think the R1 is for me. So is it the R3 or is it the R5 Mark II? And I think
Well,
because of the video
that's a
side of
Nikon.
it, the R5 is becoming the primary focus.
Anyhow, bring on the pictures. Bring on the pictures.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not a Fuji. You don't want to talk about it.
So what we've been doing over the past few shows is introducing the guys. Neil and Damo both gave us a good introduction to their style and what they've been involved in photography. So this month we're going to turn to Ian. So Ian's going to talk us through how and why he got into photography, what he likes doing about it, and we're going to show some of your photographs as well, Ian. So over to you.
Yeah. So 2002, I got into photography all those years ago. It sounds like a long time ago now, doesn't it? See the grey hairs. I got into photography for probably the wrong reasons, really. It was Apple showing off iPhoto that got me into photography. The idea of you could take images on the digital camera, just, import them into your computer and boom, it was there. And that's what got me into it. So yeah, I have to thank Apple, I suppose, really, for getting into photography. So, which is maybe my downside because I'm a very technical photographer and not so much of a creative photographer, if that makes sense. But we've all got flaws. Then 2004 moved to Cornwall. So this first image you're seeing now is of a stone chat. It's an awful photo because I took this on a 2 megapixel compact camera at the time. But I guess even with this photo, what I'm trying to demonstrate is even early on, I was sort of intrigued by what I was seeing in terms of wildlife. I mean, I wouldn't have known that was a stone chat at the time, but it was just wow. What's that? I need to learn. I need to find out more. 2006, I went from compact camera to bridge camera. I did quite the traditional sort of route through cameras. I got my first SLR, which is a Canon 350D. And this next image is tin mines with a twig in between. Again, it's not a great photo, but focusing on the twig and letting the tin mines go out of focus and just this, trying to do something a bit different from just the snapshots. But, and that was what the SLR gave me that maybe the bridge camera or the compact camera wasn't giving me, was a different level of creative control. Yeah, so then I went into sort of a lot of. I met a friend, became friends on Facebook actually, another photographer locally, and got into doing like sunsets, almost like every night it seemed at the time. We would just sunset, 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 and then with this friend that joined the camera club in 2013, and that really opened my eyes. Then I'm a big advocate for camera clubs because I've been into genres that I just wouldn't have gone into. I mean, I primarily would have described myself as just a landscape photographer up until that point. And this, you can see this shot here was teddy bears holding hands. First competition I entered there was Valentine's was the theme, and this image did well. It didn't win, but it did get in the top 5, I believe, at the time. And beginner's luck because I didn't do very well after that. But it just showed that I went from sunsets to shooting teddy bears, and you just camera clubs force you to learn different techniques, different genres. 2016, I've always enjoyed my time lapse photography, and I did Cornwall at sundown, 8,000 images in total. That was a fun project. Like doing projects when I get a chance. And then 2019, this image here of the fence going off towards the beach across the dunes. That I was first runner up in the Southwest Coast Path Photographer of the Year with that image. That was nice. Over lockdown, well, initially to start getting fit, I think some of you guys might have the book actually. Khan and Back Again was my first sort of foray into trying to do my own book, which is really great learning experience. I mean, I love seeing images in print. I'm always buying books, as you guys know. So to do my own was just a great, I only sold like a handful of copies, but it was just the whole process of laying it out, putting the words to it and going through it was just really nice. And every now and again, I just pick it up and I can just, flick through it. Macro photography is a big thing for me now. you go back to the beginning, I was doing mostly landscapes, and now, you know, if it wasn't for the Canberra Club and stuff, I probably wouldn't be into macro, but I do a lot of macro. And 2 years in a row, 2001, with this image here of, which I titled Squeeze, is this oil and water shot that got shortlisted in Close-Up Photographer of the Year. And then 2022, the two butterflies, I called it holding hands, because it almost looks like they're holding hands, and the green sort of wavy oil and water shot both got shortlisted. And then 2023 was another proud moment. I won a competition in Outdoor Photography magazine with these two butterflies perched together, two common blue butterflies on the same piece of grass, for a competition that they were running. And that sort of brings us up to date. You know, I would describe myself as very much an outdoor photographer, but I'm quite happy doing different genres. But I'm happiest outdoors, whether it be landscapes, wildlife, macro. And this is going to sound strange, you know, having just shown some images that, you know, I'm really proud of, but I still look at photography and I still go out, still trying to take a good photograph. Because I feel like if I get past that moment, then I might as well just stop. You know, I'm still trying to take a good photograph. I'm highly critical of my own stuff, so I'm always trying to get better, and I think we should always be trying to get better. You know, yeah. If you go back to that first image I showed of the stone chat, it was bloody awful. I like to think I've made a bit of progress since then.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, and I'm a bit slow when it comes to when I see these photographers that have been, you know, winning national awards after, like, oh yeah, I picked a camera up 2 years ago. I go, oh, I don't like you. How do you do it? Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's been a slow journey, but I'm still learning, and that's what keeps photography interesting to me.
yeah, it's a bit like when you first play golf and you hit that perfect drive or the perfect putt. You think, oh, this is great, and then 20 years later, you're still striving to
20
hit that
years,
bloody ball
20
again.
years, the next hole.
No, it's fascinating. Some beautiful pictures there. Kit wise, what kit are you using now? You've progressed
I'm
from your
still on
little SLR to
I'm still on a Canon 5D Mark III, so I'm not mirrorless at all. Although that's a lie. I have got a mirror camera. I've got my little treasured Lumix Micro Four Thirds, which I
yeah.
love, which I use as my little walkabout camera, but it's highly capable. But yeah, otherwise primarily Canon. I haven't gone down the big mirrorless route yet, but I'm sure that will come one day.
I mean, I personally, Ian, the two areas I like of your photographs, and one, well, actually, there's one area I like and one area I don't like, and I'll explain why. One area I do like is the tin mines. You do a lot of pictures of the tin mines and the areas around Cornwall, and I do like those. I really love them. And some of the tin mine shots in black and white, you've done a few of those as well. And occasionally you catch some birds of prey that's really good. The ones I don't like is the oil and water, just because they're so damn good.
Yeah, yeah.
I try very hard and to reach the standards. The green one is really good with that swirl. I don't know. I'm trying to work out how you got that swirl in there. That's really good.
I'll tell you, I don't mind how, you know, I've got no secrets. So I literally printed out just a swirl of green, different shades of green that I just manipulated in Photoshop, and then that's just underneath.
Oh, so that's how you do it.
So
I'll have to change my Elmer the elephant then and go for something
yeah, that's it.
color-wise.
Yeah, that's. I remember talking to you about it, Ian. About you said you printed something out, put it underneath, and I was straight in, printed out some rainbows and all sorts of other things during lockdown and tried, and it's actually really effective.
Yeah, it is.
I hear some people even you put a monitor screen behind or something.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Is it backlights it as well?
Damo, you got your famous GoPro and a teacup. That was quite an effort. I like that one that we saw when you.
What was that? My GoPro
Yeah,
in a
you
pouring
put it in the bottom of a coffee cup and then filled it up with tea, which was quite an
the
interesting.
best thing you can do with a GoPro. I can't find much else I can do. But we did. The three of us did push each other during lockdown, especially on
That
the
was good fun.
water and the the rainbows and on water drops and water droplet photography. It was really good fun. I learned so much over that. So it was really,
Yeah. What
Yeah.
people don't realise is for those 2 images that you've shown tonight, I probably took 2,000.
I know.
To,
Oh, I know. I
yeah,
know. I know. I
yeah,
realized.
yeah.
I
They're
remember
very
doing
good.
droplets and taking hundreds,
Oh,
hundreds,
yeah.
trying to
And the
get
teddy,
You
that
wouldn't have
moment.
done that if we were still using film, would you?
No, no.
It's quite a
Good.
good challenge sometimes. You go out and just limit yourself to the number of images you take.
Mm,
Quite kind of good fun.
yeah.
Yeah. No, fascinating, and thank you for that. It gives a good idea. And you are in a beautiful place in the world to do some landscape stuff.
Yeah, I'm very
tin
fortunate.
mines are
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I
Thanks,
love
Ian.
I'll
That
send
was
quality
a
really
ones.
good.
I'll send a tin mine one that I took last night just for demo.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also some of your Star Trail ones were excellent as well. And you also
Yeah, I did.
I've seen to do that photo, paint by light, don't you? Where you use a light
Yeah,
source
yeah,
to
light painting.
highlight a picture
Yeah,
when you're
yeah. I've done it
again.
all, and I must say it is the camera club that forces you down these roads, and you know some people have an attitude of, well, I don't like portraits, I don't do portraits,
Oh, I
but
don't. Yeah.
no, but and portraits isn't my cup of tea either, particularly. But I will do it because you just photography is light. So if you can learn about light, then you can apply that to so many other different situations. You go back to the oil and water; it's still light. So if you can learn how to light a portrait, and then you can learn how to light oil and water, it's the same principle. And
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It frustrates me when you enter a. Sorry, I'm still part of the RPS, but I've stopped entering the monthly competition because I'll enter a sports picture and there's someone there that will just say, "Oh, I don't like sports as a genre, and yeah, it's not my sort." Doesn't matter if it's your sort of picture or not,
no,
or when someone says, "Oh, could you not move to the left in it?" Or I'll tell you what, I'll just ask them to stand still just for a minute, just I'll freeze time whilst I move. And
yeah,
people just don't understand. It's
no,
about the moment.
It's interesting the way you're talking about lighting in photography because it really is everything, isn't it? Without light, you've just got a blank page. So what we might do next month is to do a small piece on lighting, what you should be looking for, how you should go about it, what you might be setting up, that kind of thing. So the guys here will do a little bit on a particular part that they're particularly fond of, or they have to worry about in their types of photographs. And again, if you have any questions about that, please send them in. We're happy to look at them and take on giving you some answers. And we'll look about how you consider lighting in your photographs. Okay. Thanks very much for that, Ian. I'm sure we've given everyone here a much better insight as to who you are and what you like about photography. I may very well frighten you all next month by doing a bit about me, which will be
Hey,
terrifying. Good grief.
pictures of the moon.
But pictures, pictures. Oh, I've got loads of blobs. I've got hundreds of blobs. I can bore you to death with blobs. That's not a problem. But yeah, well, let's see how that one works out. So, okay, we're going to wrap up there, guys. It's been really interesting chatting tonight. We may, as I say, we'll try and get you that link to Jeff Cable's interview. See what you think about that. I'll put up that next 3 weeks, and then we'll be looking forward to seeing you next month. So, Damo, what have you got planned for next month? Any shoots coming up that you're looking
Oh,
forward
that's an
to?
interesting question. Oh yes, we're going to with the Igers Birmingham group. We're going to be going up Cofton Court, a National Trust property. We've been invited by National Trust, and they're redoing the roof. The Cofton Court is in Studley, and it's got links to the gunpowder plot, and they've done a complete renovation of the upper floors with priest holes and that. And they've allowed 20 of us to go up to there and see how the renovations are going. So be able to report back on that.
Great stuff. Good. Sounds interesting. Neil, are you going to be doing nothing again for the next month, or are you actually going to?
No. I've actually volunteered. It's next week. No, next week, week after next. There's a buskers festival going on in one of the towns of Morges up near Lausanne every night. So I'm going to be swapping sports for portraits and bands and
Mm.
actors, performers. It'll be interesting probably
And low
fairly
light by the
bad
sound
light.
of it.
Sorry?
Mm. And low light by the sound of it as well.
Yeah, it'll be low light, which will be interesting, fun. Yeah, so a bit of voluntary stuff, and a bit of sailing, triathlon as well coming up. Yeah.
Good. Ian, got anything planned?
I have actually, yeah, next week with a friend, we're going to go and do some jousting.
Woohoo.
So,
Go
yeah.
GoPro on the end of your lance. That should be interesting.
Good.
Yeah. No, I'm not doing the jousting, I'm doing the photography.
Stick the camera on the end of the lance.
Yeah.
Make sure
Yeah.
it's insured.
Have you got a spare Nikon I can use?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, and it's insured.
Okay. I've got an interesting one coming up as well. We're going to Duxford for an evening air show.
Oh,
So the air
lovely.
show is going to
Oh.
be in the twilight, which should be quite interesting. I'm sure I'll get lovely loads of black silhouettes, perfect to go with my white blobby moons, But we'll give that a try. So hopefully you all can have something to do for photography for the next month or so. Please send in some shots if you want us to have a look at them and you want us to show them up here on the screen. More than happy to. But so we're having a growing subscriber list and growing people watching the videos. So it'd be interesting to see all that you're taking as well. So until then, Damo, how can we get hold of you?
It's on Damo. If you go for that, that's the best way.
Okay. Ian? Well, we already got yours, haven't we? Look, there everywhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Neil.
IanLewisPhoto.co.uk.
I must get around to
I
that.
must do that as
It's
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
dodsyphoto.ch. You
Lovely.
find me at Dodzy Photo on the web as well.
Great stuff. All right. So thanks very much for coming down and watching our podcast. We'll see you all next month. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.